Today, we're really digging into something incredibly practical. It's all about how to build genuine confidence when you're speaking English, in your daily life.
Exactly.
Our source material for this deep dive is a rich collection of insights from Daily English Confidence. Think like a winner.
And our mission really is to pull out the most important bits, the key nuggets of knowledge, maybe some surprising facts from this source. So you'll get a clear, actionable roadmap. We're moving beyond just, language rules and getting into the mindset shifts, the cognitive strategies that actually build that self-assurance.
Right.
Think of it as maybe your shortcut to feeling truly confident in English.
It sounds like it's not just about vocabulary lists or grammar drills then. It's deeper.
It is. It's about a transformation in how you approach the language itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. So we have to start with this core idea the source presents, thinking like a winner. Now, when I first read that, I thought, okay, competition. How does that fit with language learning, which feels, vulnerable sometimes?
That's a really good point. It's easy to misinterpret. But the source defines it differently. It's not about beating others. It's more like a deliberate cognitive shift.
Me?
Staying positive, yes, but also really focusing on your goals and kind of embodying this belief that, okay, I will find a way.
So it's about resilience.
Exactly. Right. Resilience. And the source uses David's story to illustrate this really well. He's in this busy office, big project deadline looming. Everyone's worried, right? Mm-hmm. Understandably.
Yep, sounds familiar.
But David, instead of, panicking, he stays calm. And he just says, okay, let's focus on what we can do step by step.
Simple, but effective.
Very. It wasn't just wishful thinking. It was like actively reframing the situation.
Yeah.
Shifting from anxiety about the problem to focusing on the solution. And that helped the whole team pull together and get it done. The source really stresses how this way of thinking can change your whole approach.
So for you listening, this isn't just some abstract idea. It's the engine, maybe. It's about believing you can figure things out. You can make progress, like David did. Because that belief, that seems to be the real key to feeling confident in any interaction, especially using a new language.
Precisely. That underlying belief fuels everything else.
Okay, so we've got the mindset foundation. Now, how do we turn that into action? What are the really practical, everyday things the source says we should do to build that confidence?
Right. Moving from mindset to actual habits. The source really emphasizes starting with what it calls small, friendly steps, which, it sounds a bit like habit stacking from behavioral science.
Okay.
Instead of trying to do everything at once, you link a small, achievable English interaction to something you already do. Like, say, when you see your neighbor anyway.
Right.
Just adding a simple, clear, good morning, how are you today? It's polite, sure, but it's also a tiny win. A little positive reinforcement.
I like that. Small wins.
Yeah. And Sarah's story, the teacher who was nervous about parent meetings, she didn't try to give long speeches. She prepared short, simple, but high-impact sentences like, thank you for coming, how can I help your child? And just practicing those specific phrases made her feel more prepared and eventually much more confident in those situations. The source also really digs into speaking clearly and politely. Which sounds obvious, maybe.
But maybe it's more important than we think.
I think so. At a market, for example, asking, how much are these tomatoes? Or, can I have 2 kilos, please? Yeah. Clearly and politely. It's not just functional. It actually creates these positive little micro interactions. People want to help you more.
And that probably makes you feel better about asking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It builds a positive feedback loop. Look at Mark, planning his weekend. He consciously thought about his words and said, I think it would be nice to visit the park. What do you think? Polite, clear. Made the conversation easy. And another thing the source highlights is using full sentences, even simple ones. Instead of just food good, saying the food is good. It helps people understand you, yes, but it also reinforces the language patterns in your own brain.
Interesting. So it helps you internally too.
Yeah, it builds stronger, more automatic pathways. And politeness when asking for help. Could you please help me? It just encourages cooperation, makes the whole exchange smoother.
Okay, these are great practical tips. Starting simple, being clear, polite. So you're less self-conscious because you're focused outward.
Exactly. It can really dial down that internal anxiety.
That makes a lot of sense. And then there's the shyness, the worry about mistakes. That's huge for learners.
It really is. But the source has this great line. Every expert was once a beginner.
I like that.
It's about normalizing mistakes. The source frames them not as failures, but as like essential data points, information you use to get better.
Data points, okay.
Think about John's story. He moves to a new country. At first, he's slow, makes lots of errors, but he didn't quit. He consciously practiced every day with neighbors, colleagues, his wife, small interactions.
He just kept going.
Kept going. He wasn't aiming for perfection right away, just consistency and learning from those mistakes. And now he speaks fluently, feels proud.
John's story really hits home. What stands out there is it normalizes the struggle, doesn't it? Those mistakes aren't failures. They're just part of it.
Exactly. They are an expected, necessary part of the process. And the source really hammers this home. Confidence grows with practice and patience. It's like building muscle.
Right. It requires consistent effort.
Consistent, deliberate effort. The source talks about immersion through micro-interactions, weaving English into your day as much as possible. Not huge things, just small, regular exposures.
Like talking to family.
Yeah, about simple stuff. Or ordering food, asking for directions. Every little conversation helps strengthen those neural pathways we mentioned.
And it also mentioned more targeted learning.
Yes, strategic skill building, like preparing a few simple phrases for common situations. Nice to meet you. Where are you from? Having those ready reduces anxiety.
Okay.
And Alex and Peter used podcasts. They didn't just listen passively. They actively repeated phrases. That's active listening and repetition.
Turning commute time into practice time.
Exactly. And Mark wrote simple sentences every night about his day. That helps solidify his thoughts in English, improving both writing and speaking. And Tom used his lunch breaks for situational micro-practice, just chatting about the weather or food with colleagues. Low stakes, high reward for confidence.
So the takeaway seems to be small, consistent, targeted steps. They really add up.
They absolutely do. Peter's story is a perfect example of this system. He set specific, small, daily goals, learned 5 new words, used them in sentences, listened to that podcast on his commute, talked to his wife in English at home for a bit.
Very structured.
Yeah, he created a system. And within weeks, he felt more confident. Even his boss noticed his communication improved at work.
Wow. That's a direct link between those small efforts and real-world results.
Definitely. And the source gives loads of examples of how this works in different situations.
Like at work.
Yeah, workplace interactions. Emma prepared key points before a meeting, spoke clearly, her idea got accepted. Robert made a point of speaking slowly and clearly in a big meeting, even though he was nervous. His manager actually praised his improvement. Clarity won over speed.
That's encouraging. Clarity over speed.
And at home, John talking to his wife about his day in simple sentences. Sarah and Michael sharing plans. Anna and Peter talking about the best part of their day, all reinforcing English in a safe space.
Right. Low pressure practice.
And in public, too. Ordering food, I'll have the grilled chicken and a salad, please. Asking at the bus stop, does this bus go to the city center? Or in a shop, how much is this shirt? Do you have it in blue? All applying those principles of clarity and politeness.
And across all these examples, the source keeps coming back to politeness, smiling, and speaking slowly when you feel nervous. They seem like really practical tools.
They really are. Not just manners, but strategies. Smiling makes you and the other person feel more comfortable. Speaking slowly gives your brain time to catch up. And crucially, for those moments when you feel tired or frustrated or like you're hitting a wall, it comes back to David's mantra, I will find a way. The source sees this as fundamental for persistence.
That internal self-talk.
Absolutely. Stories like Rachel's move to a new city found it really hard, but she kept smiling, kept asking questions, kept practicing daily until she made friends. And Lisa, setting that strict daily routine of reading and speaking, it reinforces the power of just sticking with it.
Yeah.
Keeping that positive attitude even when it's tough.
Which brings us to a really important question for everyone listening. How can you apply that I will find a way idea to your own English journey, especially when progress feels slow? How do you keep going?
Well, to kind of wrap things up, building this confidence, it's clearly a journey, right? It's paved with that consistent strategic practice we talked about, having that positive mindset, communicating clearly and politely, and really listening. And always remembering, mistakes aren't failures, they're just learning, part of the deal.
Yeah. So the big takeaway for you listening, maybe the challenge, is this. What's one small, consistent step you'll commit to starting today? Something to ignite that winner's mindset for your English. Maybe it is learning 5 new words and actually trying to use them, or having one simple conversation with a family member tonight, or trying one of those polite phrases next time you're in a shop. Because the source is really clear on this. Those small steps, fueled by that belief that you can improve, they genuinely lead to big results. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.